Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mollusk here, and tonight's battle takes place on Grim Moor, in the land of Sylvania. This time, the Beastmen of the Grimwood are fighting the Ghoulkin of the Hungerwood. Let's get to it. Another battle which takes place in the High Street Kensington Games Workshop. It's a great little store, and I highly recommend you drop by if you're in the area. I turned up thinking we were going to be playing Triumph and Treachery tonight, but as it turns out, it was regular old vanilla 8th edition, which is great. But it meant I had to cobble together a, 1,750 point army on the fly. I've never done this before, so we'll see how I get on. Attacking from the north, we have my Beastmen. On the far left, which is east, we have my unit of 30 gore with my Great Bray Shaman General. The unit causes fear because of my General's sword. Behind them is my Piece de Resistance, a huge block of Bestigore with my Wargore and my Wargore Battle Standard Bearer ensconced within. And note, their placement is not part of some cunning battle plan. I am that bad at judging distances, and so I couldn't fit the two hordes in side by side, and I had to stick them there. Not such a good start, maybe. On their right and behind the cemetery is my level 1 Bray Shaman. His job is to sit back, look inconspicuous, and try to get off Wissons a couple of times. In the cemetery itself is a Razorgore. To the right of that is another Razorgore. And to the right of that, which is west, is my other unit of Gore, which is basically my Cortax. On my opponent's side, we have a unit of Hex Wraiths, which have vanguarded into the centre of the table, seeking to cause me problems. Such audacity. And to the south behind them you can see he's clustered up the rest of his army with the idea of getting lots of bubble spells off and making my day bad. On the east side we have a small innocent looking unit of skeletons. Behind them is a spirit host. Holding the centre of his lines is, I think that was a Mortis engine. Next to that is a huge block of 40 ghouls with a Strigoi vampire, and I was not looking forward to facing them. Behind them is a bunker unit of zombies with a necromancer, and off over here is another spirit host. The big unit of ghouls was one of my opponent's earlier drops, and so my plan was to feint west and hit east, to borrow a Chinese saying, and my goal is to use my Gore-Tax unit and the Razorgore, one of the Razorgores, to lure the Ghoul unit off all the way over to the west where they won't do anything apart from kill those units this game, and then munch the rest of his army with my hordes. Now, my opponent is an experienced player, and it's going to take some generalship on my part to get that plan to work. Let's see how I do. I won the roll to go first, and the Beastmen surge forward. Or rather, the Razorgore do, because the Gore and the Bestigore are too busy getting in each other's way. It's a little way through my turn before I realise quite how special I am, and realise that my parking the Razorgore there in front of the Hex Wraiths, in the hope of jamming up their movement and presenting a nice juicy flank to my Bestigore, is just dumb, because they can just move through him and don't care. I mean, on top of that, they're also fast cav, so they could probably just meander past him anyway. So yeah, go me! In other news, we get to find out what the forests are. The one in the middle is a fungus forest, and the one that my big unit of 30 gore are currently in is an abyssal wood, so they get to cause double fear now. To the west, we've moved up as you see here, and I'm dangling my succulent looking mutton in front of the ghouls. I also really like where my second Razorgore is. I think it's given me some really good options for chaffing things up and supporting things, and maybe going for that corpse cut if I can get through the gap. In the magic phase, I Pit of Shades and direct hit the Hex Wraith units with my level 4. Level 4 for the win! 3 of their number are sucked into the murky depths of the pit. And for all my mistakes so far, that's a really good start. In his turn, everything slowly shuffles up. The ghouls look like they're taking the bait. Come on, come to Papa. I'm not too worried about that Spirit Host on the right, as I figure I can probably deal with it with combat res. The skeleton unit on the left has turned out to go off towards those ruins, and the second Spirit Host has moved up, and what I believe my opponent is trying to do is to chaff up my units with a Spirit Host, grow that unit of skeletons to bog me down whilst he snaffles up some easy points with my smaller Gore unit. And if that's what he's thinking, I'm fine with that. Those Hex Wraiths do move through my Razor Gore, by the way, and don't do any damage. And I think the positioning of that Spirit Host was a small mistake on my opponent's part, as now my Razor Gore is looking directly at the flank of the Spirit Host. So my turn, I charge with it, and I like my chances of doing a couple of wounds with combat res. His placement of the Hex Wraiths was much better, however, and it meant that my second Razor Gore couldn't see them, so it moved up there into the centre, and I really like that. From there it can go into the flank of the skeletons, it can move across to chaff up those ghouls if they start to get ideas about coming towards my main blocks, and what the prize that I'm looking at is that straight charge towards the... I think I can even get into the flank of that corpse cart. And I'm very interested to see what I can do, because I'm pretty sure that thing can buff his units up quite horribly. And who knows, from there into his Necromancer, I'm really quite excited by the potential of this Razor Gore. My big Gore horde marches forward as far as it can go, and my Best Gore unit, with its banner of swiftness, shuffles up a couple of inches behind it. I really didn't play this very well. Over to the west, my 25-man Gore unit backs up, daring those ghouls to make a long charge. And again, I'm not really bothered about the Spirit Host. I figure I can probably take that, or at least wound it considerably before the ghouls get to me, so I'm not particularly worried about that. I should say in the previous magic phase, my opponent cast Bubble Invocation and raised a ton of zombies and some skeletons. I just let it go because I didn't care, and I wanted to save my dice for what came next. Then he cast a spell which meant that the ghouls re-rolled a hit or something in combat, and I don't care about that. I was not planning on going anywhere near them anyway. So then I'm waiting to see what he's going to do next with his last couple of dice, and going to dispel it with all mine, and he just saves them for another magic phase because he has an item that allows him to do that. Yeah, so I'm sat there looking a bit stupid with a dispel pool full of dice. There's something wrong with this picture. I wonder if you can tell what it is. You're right, the Gore appear to be facing the wrong way, and that's because the Spirit's Host charged them, and apparently they caused terror, and my goats fled. Sigh. But if they rally next turn, it shouldn't be too bad, although I'm a little bit worried that they're now quite far away from the ghouls, and they might lose interest and start heading towards my main units, which is what they start to do. The skeletons on the left there just moved up because they forgot to charge the Razor Gore, and everything else is as you see. In the magic phase, he got off Wind of Death with irresistible force and took out a few of my Gore. If we hop back to this picture, we can see that his Necromancer is in quite a sweet little spot there to miscast with a small template. The blast takes out a couple of zombies, the corpse cart succeeds in its regen roll, and the 3 ghouls that were hit all succeed with their 6-up regen. I was very disappointed, but at least he sucked the rest of his dice down the hole. In combat, the Spirit Host can't do anything to my Razor Gore, and they take another wound from combat res. My turn. The Gore fail their morale check again, and run away, off the board. It's enough that there are core attacks, but it would be nice if they could at least just do something more than distract his chaff units momentarily. But I shouldn't complain too much though, because I'm rolling really quite high this game. It's very unusual. In the centre, I really debated whether or not to send the Razor Gore to chaff up the ghouls, or to go for the throat and get the corpse cart. I end up going for the corpse cart because I figure it's only going to be slowing the ghouls up for a turn, and I'm definitely going to lose it that way. Or it could be a hero and munch that corpse cart, stop whatever buffs it's going to give to the rest of the army, and maybe do some damage in an overrun. To be honest, I just want to see what it's going to do against that thing, and that's why I did it. In combat, I go back to my normal tactic of rolling one hit on a Razor Gore charge out of 4 dice, hitting on 4s, and the corpse cart easily regenerates, and then does 2 wounds to my Razor Gore, because this guy is the king of rolling 6s. And so, yeah, I've lost combat there. Or rather, we draw combat, but yeah, that Razor Gore's now dead. Dead meat. So much for my dreams. Over to the east, the Gore unit charges the Spirit Host, and the Bray Shaman's like, what Spirit Host? I can't see it for all the mist I'm sticking my sword in. Now, I'd love to overrun into those skeletons, but the stupid pig is in the way, and so all I can do is reform. I try to be clever with it, and face it so that it's going to lure the skeletons off slightly differently, and perhaps so that they'll hit that monolith, which was impassable terrain. And so maybe when they kill that Razor Gore and make it run away, that it won't go into my main unit. But I'm a tool and can't position my models properly. I know the picture looks like from here the skeletons would have to go into its front, but I think in reality it was equidistant. They could just choose, and so guess where they charge to. The reason why my Gore unit is this far over is because that monolith is impassable terrain, which I didn't realise. Or you should mental note or note to self: always ask what the terrain is before you start the game. But basically, it meant they had to shuffle over in order to charge the Spirit Host, and they're well in range of those ghouls. And I'm starting to get that sinking feeling. Because it's not looking good, ladies and gentlemen. He charges in with the skeletons and the ghouls. Now, I debated reforming the Gore unit so that they could face the ghouls, but that Razor Gore doesn't have a hope in hell of staying, and so I'd rather have the skeletons in my front where I can maximise their attack, my Gore's attacks against them, minimise the ghouls' attacks because they're going to have a boat ton, and so try to sustain combat res that way. In hindsight, I think that was definitely the right decision, but at the time I was really not certain that I'd made the right choice. In the rest of the movement phase, the bell thing on top of the spirit engine, or whatever it's called, killed the Razor Gore for the corpse cart, and so everything just shuffles along. In combat, I do the tried and tested tactic of only hitting once with my 4 attacks on the Razor Gore. I think I kill a skeleton, and I don't think they kill it. I think they just break it in combat. It needs snake eyes, and it runs away through my unit, and the skeletons charge on in to join the ghouls. In combat, my unit champion bravely steps up to the challenge made by the Strigoi Blender King, who flubs his attacks and only overkills my champion by 2 or 3. The ghouls then strip off about another 7, I think, and we attack the skeletons before they do, and give a good account of ourselves. We've got primal fury in our hearts, and I think we do 10 or 11 kills, actually. I think we did very well. And the skeletons did another couple of wounds, I think. In the end, though, we can't match all their ranks and banners and charges and whatever else, and I think we need 3 or less to stay, and we do not. And so my general's unit runs for the hills, and shockingly gets away. Although the skeletons decide to prod the wound a bit and charge my Razor Gore, and so instantly kill it. And the ghouls just reform to face my Bestigore. Things are looking pretty grim, until my Bray Shaman general decides to stick 2 fingers to the gods and turn around. And I'm very proud of them. The Bestigor charge forward to earn their name, and I'm pretty sure we can bash through those skeletons no problem. The level 1 shaman, who's been skulking in the graveyard, pops his head out in front of the oncoming tide of ghouls in an effort just to slow them down a little bit, as I'm really scared of this unit. In the magic phase, I get a pretty crappy amount of power dice. I think all our magic phases from this point in the game onwards were really low. As I can't cast with my level 4 because he's just turned around, I cast with my level 1 and I get Wissons off on the Bestigor with Irresistible Force, which is great because I then get the template and take a couple of ghouls with me and wound my Bray Shaman, so I'm pretty happy with that. In combat, we evaporate the skeletons, but not before they do 6 wounds on toughness 5 Bestigor with 5 up saves. My opponent is the king of rolling 6s. It's no wonder he takes a ghoul army. In my opponent's turn, he's forced to declare a charge against the level 1 shaman with his ghouls, and I flee from that. And the reason I did that is because I'm a complete imbecile. Because all he does is then redirect into my Gore unit. Sorry, Bestigor unit. I guess my shaman wasn't there to sacrifice himself for the greater good. In the magic phase, the Necromancer Irresistible Force casts, what's it called, Van Hell's Dance? Which basically moves everyone up, trying to get within all nice juicy bubble and regeneration and whatever else range. And a few zombies die and no one cares. And he sucks the rest of his dice down the hole. And I've been hanging on to this Dispel Scroll all game, looking for the opportunity to use it. And I never get the chance. There's been quite a few miscasts in this game. In combat, my unit champion accepts the Stragoy's challenge and gets overkilled into little goatee chunks. And the rest of combat is no less brutal, ladies and gentlemen. We're picking up fistfuls of dice and throwing them here. And both units are knocking the crap out of each other. The ghoul's poison attacks alone probably nearly take out a rank, because he's just rolling so many 6s. But the Bestigor prove they're worth the name and decimate his force. I've been terrified of this ghoul unit all game, because I think that my Bestigor just don't match up very well with them. So I've been thinking they get so many more attacks, and they get poison to get through my toughness. And actually, yeah, sure, they're getting through my toughness with poison, but then, they'd be doing the same to my Gore unit. But I get an armor save, whereas my normal Gore units don't. And what's more, instead of wounding on a 5, as a strength 3 versus the Ghoul's toughness of 4 with my Gore unit, I'm wounding on 2s with my Bestigor. So despite my opponent's skill at rolling 6-up regens, actually I think the Bestigor do match up fairly well against the Ghouls. And yeah, you live and learn. So things are looking up a bit as we go into turn 5. My Gore unit with my Brave Shaman charge the flank of the Ghouls, because I figure they're a ton of points, and I'm not really too worried about anything else in his army. That Mortis engine, I don't really know what it could do, and I know it explodes and kills lots of things, but I figure if I kill those ghouls, I can get the corpse cart and the zombie unit not without too much problem, and that's pretty much the game. His vampire worries me though, because I know he's going to challenge, and I'm thinking my best bet is to accept with the reasonably cheap Wargore, lose that character, but then keep the more of the back rank of Gores and try to kill the vampire through combat res, which I think is a possibility. So yeah, things are by no means certain. The Ghouls attack first, and if they get a good round, then it might just be able to see them through. However, it was getting a bit late, and my opponent needed to leave at this point, and so we called it there. This was a really, really enjoyable game. It was so much back and forth, and I really thank my opponent for giving me such a battle. playing Beastmen doesn't half get your heart pumping with those precarious leadership tests you have to keep making. I really liked giving my Bray Shaman the fear-causing sword, and having the Razorgore cause fear, and in fact the Bestigore causing fear because they're partially in that wood. Fear is a good thing for Beastmen, and I might look to try to incorporate that in future lists. Yeah, great game, and I leave you with news that my level 1 failed its morale check and ran off the board in that final turn. Sigh. So there we have the final score. 705 points plus 25 points for a banner to the vampire counts, and 680 points plus a banner to the Beastmen. My scoring system differs a little bit from what's in the rulebook, because I try to count the points for each individual model slain where I can. The blood spill's got to be measured properly. The difference was 25 points, or 1.4%, in the favour of the vampire counts. And that's about as close a draw as I've ever seen, and probably fitting for so closely fought a battle. I'm a bit disappointed we didn't get to do that last battle, that last combat, as I'd hoped to pick up the ghouls and the vampire, but that's life. And to be honest, one good round for him, and it could easily have swung the other way. But yeah, great game, and thank you for watching.